Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be talking about first turn kills in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or as we call them FTKs, the nature of FTKs, and should you play one? And am I a bad person if I want to play one at my locals? So we will dive in and explore all these questions and hopefully have some good discussion. So the deck that I have on the screen is, I guess, Runic FTK with Punk. This is a known FTK, people know about this. It's not that good, it's not game breaking at all. It is very fragile and very flawed, but it's really fun and really cool, and it surprised me how easy it is to do. It wasn't that hard at all. Because in terms of the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! And like FTKs in general, it's just, they're usually not that consistent, and it usually requires a lot more effort and a lot more time. But this one doesn't require a lot of effort or a lot of time, and it was simple and effective, but still, obviously, inherently flawed, as it has a lot of weaknesses and choke points in the combos. But it is flexible, that you can still often put up reasonable negate and standard Naturia boards with Beast, Barkion, Baron, etc. So it does have that as a backup plan, so it is more flexible and versatile than perhaps other FTK decks in the past, but it's still in nature an FTK deck. You have a lot of things you just can't handle. So, pretty standard deck list. I know a lot of people play this with Runic, but I was kind of getting bored of playing Runic. I played a lot of Naturia Runic in the same week I played this. So I just wanted to test cards like Primitive Butterfly and this guy Zex Stagger, because these are just pretty good generic cards that let you go into your Diabolantis much easier. And this one lets you do the Synchro for Bishbalkin a lot easier as well. But, so let's jump into the replay if you don't know what this FTK does. It is a one-card FTK off E-Tele. And there are ways to make just Xiamen a one-card FTK, but I didn't play those. You need to play the Code Breaker engine. I decided I didn't want to. Because, yeah, the FTK was easier to do with Xiamen than what I thought. So, standard E-Tele for Xiamen for Dianote, sending Goki Pole off the Diabolantis when we make it, and this card we get to search a level 4 insect when it goes to the graveyard, so we're going to search Retaliating Sea. So we can use Diabolantis to make itself into a tuner, and then that means we can make Bishbalkin. So Bishbalkin, where we're going to give ourselves 4 tokens, and then we're going to give our opponents 4 tokens as well. So we need to make sure we put our Bishbalkin in one of these diagonals, because we need to give it to our opponent with Geonator Transverser. So when we get our 4 tokens, they have 4 tokens as well. We go Link Spider, Link Rebo, because we want to go into the Geonator Transverser. She needs to affect monsters. Then we swap control, we get one of their tokens, so now they only have 3 tokens, not 4. This is just an error on my part in the replay. So I have 3 tokens and the Bishbalkin. And then we normal summon our Retaliating Sea because we haven't normal summoned yet. Then we can summon back our Link Rebo by attributing one of the tokens, and then we can link 4 into Saryuja. This will trigger our Retaliating Sea, and we can get our Naturia more Cricket from the deck. So there was only a 4 material Skull Dread, Saryuja. It was only a 3 material, so we get to special summon a monster from our hand, so we get to summon out our more Cricket, and now, because our opponent has the highest attack monster on the field, I think this is the coolest part of this combo, is we give them the high attack monster that we can attribute our more Cricket, so now we can get 2 out of our deck. So we get Bamboo Shoot and Camellia, and then Camellia sends Sacred Tree, then we get Blessing, we summon Bamboo Shoot, because Bamboo Shoot's a level 5. This card's not bad to play in a deck anyway, like sometimes if you draw really badly, you can tribute summon it, so that's an upside of playing it, it's not necessarily a brick. And that a good thing about this combo is, like say if you want to put this back in your deck, if you have a single extender, you can go for the 4 material Saryuja to draw and put it back in the bottom of the deck. So it is flexible in that regard. So we go Blessing, summon back Cricket, summon Naturia Beast, which summons back the more Cricket by its effect, and then we've got 2 level 5s on the field that we can overlay for number 33, Konamali Machumek. So we get to target one monster on the field our opponent controls and inflict damage to them equal to the difference between its original and current attack. So Bishbalkin gains 1000 attack for each monster on the field. So we have 5 and they would have 4, so we would inflict 9000 damage to our opponent, which is great. That's an FTK, first turn kill. So I thought this was harder to pull off than I did, but then I figured out that if you just draw Punk, if you just draw Xiamen, or like, you know, Ogre Dance to search Xiamen, Just drawing Foxy 2 usually requires you to have another extender. But yeah, just Yaman and any other Naturia card. It can be Camilla, it can be More Cricket, it can be the Sacred Tree, it can be, I still think it can also be Blessing. Yeah, it can be Blessing. So, looking back at the deck list, it's very reasonable to like, because what, we're playing 27, or yeah, 27 cards that we can just, yeah, 25, yeah. It's pretty good. Anyway, not much changes in this combo, except we're just, because we've hard drawn the More Cricket, we just get to use Saryuja later in the combo to summon it out. And our send off the Diabolantis is kind of a free card in this combo. So if we repeat all the same actions again, very, very, very simple. Surprisingly simple. Saryuja, same combo. And yeah, FTK once again. And notice this play gives us precisely 8 monsters, so it's very important to not make a mistake when you make this, because you have to make sure that that's 8,000. There is a small, minute difference when you draw Camellia, in that we have to use Mole Cricket to get another copy of itself and the Bamboo Shoot, because we've already drawn the Camellia. Because for some reason, Naturia Mole Cricket can summon itself out of the deck. I found that unusual when I was playing with these Naturia cards, but I guess so. Oh, and we also use the Diabolantis to put the Mole Cricket in the graveyard, so that when we summon Camilla and get Blessing, we will have access to it in that way. But yeah, same end combo. Amazing. A cool thing that I found was if you have no Naturia card in your hand and just Yaman, but say you have a card like Destrudo, this gives you a cool line, where we do the same line as the first combo to get a Retaliating Sea. But then we're going to make a cool level 7 synchro that gives us an additional normal summon of a plant or an insect. So go through the same motions until we get to this point, and then we go into Circle of the Fairies. So this is a generic level 7 that just gives us a double summon for an insect or a plant. So in this way we're able to get our Contact on the field to search our More Cricket, and then the same combo again. So, wow. FTK. Cool, right? But why? I have some notes here I made on the screen. I'm not sure how readable it's going to be, but it's just going to help me talk a bit. So I guess the overarching question is, are you a bad person if you want to play an FTK deck at a locals? And is it wrong to FTK in general? So I have an opinion of this, and I think it's fine to do whatever you want in Yu-Gi-Oh! Yu-Gi-Oh! Is what you make of it. I have issue with a lot of people who complain about Yu-Gi-Oh! In different formats and cards and such. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is really what you make of it, and it's just about you having the self-awareness to understand that if you're going to do something to someone, then you have to be prepared for that thing to be done onto you. So if you want to FTK someone, you have to be well ready and not complain, not be angry, not be disappointed when the format of the game doesn't go in your way and someone else FTKs you. You just have to accept it. But this goes for all kinds of decks, for all kinds of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's like, you just can't be... Yeah, you can't enter a tournament and expect to have a good time, because sometimes you won't. It's very real, and you need to be prepared. So, if I'm going to do my 10 Omni negate 20-minute Dragon Link combo, I need to be able to accept it when someone does that to me. But I guess it comes from this major question of, what do players consider to be Yu-Gi-Oh? Like, what is the ideal state of Yu-Gi-Oh? And I think the ideal state, or I guess consensus of what Yu-Gi-Oh is this thing about, you trade card advantage, you summon your big monsters, you put them on the field, you battle phase, you trade blows, you break boards, and then this is supplemented with, powerful spells and, interesting and well-timed trap cards. Like, not necessarily floodgates, but sometimes floodgates can be skillful if they're used in like a combo deck sense. But then that's a whole other argument about floodgates. But I think the most question about FTKs, or what Yu-Gi-Oh is interaction. And FTKs, in essence, they remove that interaction. So this is probably the big reason why Konami bans cards. Like, they've done a good job. They made a lot of hand traps, and they ban a lot of cards that make a lot of FTKs. But if the removal of interaction is too consistent in the format, then the quality of Yu-Gi-Oh will fall. But this isn't just from FTK decks. There can be combo decks that are just way better than all other combo decks, and that just negate everything. And then, an example of this would be like the Danger combo decks of years past, and to a certain extent Dragon Link. It's like they're so good at breaking boards, establishing boards, and they're just better than everything else. There's not much downside. This can also occur I would say a control deck is very strong. Like they're loaded with floodgates, consistent, not much weakness, and a very important point as well. It doesn't mind going second, and I think we saw this a lot with like Runic Stun, and to an extent in the past, like Sky Striker. That the Sky Striker cards going first, you could just get so much advantage, but they weren't overwhelming. But likewise, you could use them going second to break boards as well. So, it's up to interpretation to whether you consider these things like interaction or not. But I think the general consensus would be, floodgate loaded decks are not very interaction based. This is why I use this keyword like well-timed trap card, because there are a lot of trap cards that are really cool. Like I would use an example like Ice Dragon's Prison, where some formats it is broken, some formats it's pretty mid-range, it's pretty mid, and it really matters on you the player of how you use them. Like this is probably like Labyrinth right now has a lot of like really cool and interesting plays and lines when it's not just like skill draining you or debarring you or eradicating you. But even then, like that's up to the Labyrinth player to choose and take in their deck in the first place based on the format. So it's flexible, not too overwhelming. So the thing that trumps all this are FTKs. So consistent FTKs, and even worse, an FTK that plays through or outright prevents hand traps, like those are the worst. Like any of the old ones in the past that would summon Alter Entity as a thought to just blank all hand traps. This was like before impermanence, firewall. Like these are the bad ones. These are the really, really, really bad ones. I know in Japan you can still probably do ones with Megalith, where you summon the Dark Magician Chaos Max to as a thought your opponent's hand traps, and then go into the Bish Balkan line. But modern Yu-Gi-Oh has so many hand traps, it's really hard to do these things anymore. Well, when this is, when an FTK is too consistent, that's when the game is just horrible. Like, I guess we saw that in Frog FTK back in 2010, where that deck was consistent, versatile. It had everything. It had everything. So what playing an FTK offers? It offers a different way to play, firstly. And then different doesn't have to be, a good or a bad perception. It doesn't have to be a right or wrong perception. It can just be a different. So again, you just have to understand that your combo could be good, bad, people, right or wrong. It doesn't matter. It's just different. And this is, a unique puzzle. It creates deck building challenges in different situations you might not occur if you're just playing conventional, standard kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! And then another thing is, like, you have to, when you play the FTKs, you have to think, can you even go second? How do you solve side deck patterns? How do you counter the popular side deck cards for you? This can be really, creative, interesting things that you can only get if you play an FTK. Like, you get similar things to other decks, but not to the extent at FTK. Because an FTK deck is just lacking in versatility. It should only really be doing one thing. Mathematically, you should gear your deck toward doing that one thing. Like, it should be min-maxed to that extent where, you just have no versatility at all. You probably can't go second. You probably barely even can go first sometimes. So it's how you solve them. It's how you solve it. I guess the main problem as well, playing it at like a local level, especially, you're with your friends, you're with people who you can create some pretty awkward social situations. You can become a bit infamous for playing these sorts of decks, and some people may not even be happy to play you or just outright not want to. And yeah, of course, most people's standards is Yu-Gi-Oh! Is meant to be interactive, back and forth, and you are actively seeking to not do that. So it can be viewed as disrespectful, and so it's really important that you, the FTK player, has a correct mindset. You're not kind of rubbing it in people's faces as you do it. You just, sometimes in Yu-Gi-Oh! We've all been there. After a game, it is best to just say nothing. Like, if your opponent doesn't look very happy and they're not saying much, then probably you shouldn't say much either, because you can only antagonize or make the situation worse for yourself or for them. And then it's important, take some time to reflect, and then maybe later on approach that person and explain your thought process in the game and how it went, or ask them what they could have done better. Who knows? There's billions of ways to go about that, but you just have to be aware that these situations can occur if you do play FTK decks. And so this correct mindset comes with, you can't get mad as well if you lose, or if you mess up your FTK, or if you just get variance out of the game. Because there are many situations that other decks can handle very easily that yours just cannot. And so variance will happen no matter what you do, and even more when you play FTK decks. And it's really up to you to accept that. You have to go in there with the right mindset. And you also need to go in there with a mindset that your rounds may be over very quickly, so you gotta have a lot of free time. But anyway, I hope this resonated with someone out there, or this kind of stuff, because I really enjoy playing alternate win conditions. It's like there was a MBT Twitter video about like Yu-Gi-Oh is like playing a lot of different micro games at once, but you're still playing the same game, which is what I like about Yu-Gi-Oh as well. I like to play all kinds of decks because I enjoy varying strategies and different play styles and different ways of playing the same game. But inherently you're playing a different game. Like that's why I like Runic so much, because Runic just feels like such a different deck. But overarchingly, I enjoy combo decks the most because I think combo decks offer the most variability in how you can play them. So me, personally, FTK decks are fine. You just got to be a nice guy about it, and you can't complain when you lose. Anyway, thank you. Hopefully that wasn't too long. Thank you for sticking to the end if you did. I really want to do more of this kind of content, where I can just talk about parts of the game that I really enjoy playing and love so much. Anyway, thank you guys. Peace out. Bye.